Hello, everyone. It's Helen Murphy here at the Guysborough Journal, and we're back with our COVID-19 video reporting. And today we're going to touch base with CAO of the Municipality of the District of Guysborough, Barry Carroll, to talk about their reopening plans. So let's just connect with Barry right now. Good morning, Barry. How are you today?
Yeah, doing well. How are you, Helen?
Fine. We're enjoying some nice summer-like weather in Guysborough finally.
Yeah, and it's May. It's a really good sign. And I think when you live in Atlantic Canada, if you can see weather in the 30s on, May 29th today, you're pretty happy with that. So, yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Exactly. Well, Barry, the Municipality of Guysborough was pretty quick out of the gate in announcing its reopening plans during the pandemic as we've been in a state of emergency. Tell me why you, and then with council support, felt that this was the right time to make that move.
Yeah, so I guess we're one of the few municipalities in the province, number one, that kept all of our buildings staffed. We run operations on the outside, obviously, our regional landfill, which is a huge facility. We cater to a couple 100,000 people, and then plus the services we have to offer inside the municipality. So we felt that we always had to have an office staff presence kind of support the operations that are happening on the outside. So, we were on a 2-on, 2-off system. And we knew at some point in time, obviously, that we'd be back to bringing in full staff. And I guess we've been monitoring both federally and more specifically in the province, where the province has come with COVID. And now that, we're nearing with restaurants and things reopening, as you've heard earlier this week from the Premier, I think we made a decision about a week and a half ago that we would now move to full staff on June 1st, and then we would open to the public 2 weeks later. So we felt the time was right. We've been, I think with our staff continuously working anyway, we're mostly in the office and some from home, that, we've never lost the mode of working kind of in the office. So it's pretty easy for us to jump back in with full staff.
Right. And you're going to do some training, I understand, I think on Monday. There will be some changes, I assume, in how things are done at the office. Tell us a little bit about that and what the training will entail.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, Helen, because even just bringing everybody back in at the one time, it's a little bit of an adjustment for people, because you get used to working with half staff, then, there's less bodies to kind of bump into, literally. So, so we're doing some training. We're starting off today, actually. We have all senior management in today. And a little bit later this morning, we're going to take them to a presentation that we plan on presenting to, go through the training of all of our staff on Monday. And that's really getting them, refreshing everybody about what COVID is, the precautions that we expect for them to take in the workplace as they work every day. Some of the safety elements that we built into their workplace to help them do their job. And so it's a full training module that we developed in-house to help staff as they adapt to providing services to the public, keeping themselves safe in this new environment. And honestly, Helen, I think we've always ran a pretty safe work environment. I think this brings it up to another couple of levels, probably. And I think most of these lessons that we've learned in the last few months are going to carry through maybe completely going forward forever, probably. So, and we think training is important, and we also believe in giving everybody the tools to do their jobs. So some of the things, for example, one person in a single cab pickup, we've done things in a four-door pickups. We've put plexiglass in to separate the front from the back, so that, and we'll allow 2 people in those vehicles for now. Hopefully, as things change, we might be able to mend these things, but that's where we're starting. All of our buildings had to be ready for the public, signage, encouraging social distancing, and all the other things that need to be done. So, so we still have a lot of work to do. And so really, first off, training is first, and then as, we'll roll that out Monday to all staff.
Right. And I assume one of the lessons for staff, but also just the community writ large, as the province opens up as a whole, I think it's important that we don't let our guard down, right? And we see what's happened in New Brunswick. We've all been kind of envious of New Brunswick having almost no COVID-19 official cases recently. And then one healthcare worker went to Quebec, came back, didn't self-isolate, and now there's an outbreak. So we might feel in Guysborough County and the Eastern Shore that, you know, we're not hearing of a lot of illness and it sounds like we're pretty safe here. But I suppose you would agree that one of the dangers is that we get a little bit too complacent.
Yeah, I mean, it really only takes one infection to start the ball rolling. I mean, you've seen it first in Newfoundland with, you know, at a funeral home where someone, you know, someone had passed, a family member, there was a lot of visitation. And the next thing you know, there was 130 or 140 people infected in that one area. So, you know, and we're seeing it in northern New Brunswick and Campbellton right now. So in Guysborough, yes, we have all the advantages of being able to social distance outside easily. The reality is people travel, people are going to be traveling. I mean, the weather has changed. People, you know, after being kind of closed in fully for a couple of months, now they want to get out. But so when people start traveling, that means that people are going to be coming back to their own area. People who live here, travel away, are going to be coming back. And you know, it only takes one case and all of a sudden we've got a cluster. And, you know, and for us, honestly, if we get a case at our landfill operations, for example, that basically shuts that down with all staff working together. Or you have it, you know, in your outside public works crew. If everybody's interacted with that one staff person, that could, you know, that kind of knocks out that crew. So that's kind of the reason we went to 2-on, 2-off system in the beginning. So that if someone had got infected for one half of our crew, then we had the other half that could still come in and provide the services. So that's an exposure or a jeopardy for us as we go back into full staff. But the reality is people out there, I mean, people are really good. I mean, you see it at the grocery store, you see it at the gas stations, you know, I've seen it out walking. We've seen it already in our outdoor recreation facilities that people in our municipality are really respectful. And we haven't had any complaints about people not following social distancing rules. But of course, when you start opening up community centers, fitness centers, and things that have been closed, then the chance of that happening, you know, ramps up a little bit. So we hope people will stick to the plan there and continue to take all the precautions that they need to.
For sure. And are there any particular areas, as the municipality gets back to the new normal, are there any particular areas of concern that you'll be keeping a particularly close eye on?
Yeah, I think recreation is the one thing that we're very cognizant of. And unfortunately, like we closed our pools this summer. I mean, our pools get huge usage. And, you know, after the winter we had, it's something that you really wanted to do. You really wanted to open those pools, but really we couldn't, you know, we couldn't ensure the safety of everybody that was using that. There's really no established methods for social distancing in a pool. And it's one thing to have adults who could maybe go in and swim laps in our pools, but then when you get kids in there frolicking around, how do you control that? So that's one example. But true recreation, I mean, as we open our fitness center, we open our lifestyle center, as you know, the arena later down the road opens up, and even our community centers. I mean, when you start thinking about a 6 by 6 radius around an individual, that's 36 square feet. So if you got a building that's 1,000 square feet, that's going to allow about 30 people in there to properly social distance. So when you're operating recreation programs, that's going to be a big challenge going forward. So I think that's our biggest challenge.
Right. And we've heard that with some businesses who've done things differently and other organizations during the pandemic. We know that a lot of them are going to keep some of those habits and practices. For example, some who've learned, especially businesses where they might be paying expensive rents in cities downtown, and they've done successfully with remote working. So they're going to keep a certain portion of that. Are there some practices that the municipality did during the lockdown that will you see continuing, whether it's flexibility or just social distancing or other practices that have been put in place?
Yeah. So I think everything that we did, with the exception of everybody being back into work, there are 2-on, 2-off system. I think, as I mentioned, vehicles, you know, anything, everybody is, you know, they're wear off. You know, but small offices really, we're not going to have, you know, if someone wants to come in from the public and they make an appointment to see somebody, you know, we'll bring them to a larger room. so that our staff person is protected, and so is the residents, so that you can social distance there. My office is a little tiny bit bigger geographically, so I can accommodate 1 or 2 people in my office, but a lot of our offices are very small bedrooms, so you can't really bring members of the public in. So I think everything that we did, except for our 2-on 2-off system, as we bring back full staff and as we bring the public into our buildings, we'll do, and even more so now as we bring the public in. I think our staff will be trained to condition as well. Members of the public as they come in or familiarize members of the public as they come in our buildings. So, for example, you come in the municipal building, post June 15th, there'll be a sign on the door that everybody has to go to the main office, and already that's even just as before, as COVID hit in January, in other parts of the world, we had our public works crew to put up a shield on our main entrance or reception area at the municipal office, well in advance of even us closing to the public in early March, just thinking that this could be a risk. So when people come in our building now, they'll go to the main reception, and then whichever staff they're there to see will be called, and they'll be escorted to where they need to go. So those are changes that people can expect as we go forward.
Right. And the recreation modifications are kind of interesting. I saw on social media this week that a wide variety of equipment, even equipment maybe we're not used to being on loan, is going to, you have an interesting loan program where it's going to be loaned from outside and people can have it for a week. And I assume there's no cost for any of that too, is there, Barry?
There's no cost for that, Helen, no. And, I guess once we open up on June 15 as well, then, the rollerblades, they can take them for a week now, but once we open up, then that'll be available for people to go rollerblading, and other equipment you can get basically on a day-to-day basis. As you mentioned, recreation again with fitness centers, we're still struggling a little bit. Do we knock out every second piece of equipment? Do we take it out completely? Do we limit numbers in the fitness centers? Because we have one both at Hazel Hill and of course at the CLC. So, and then the one at Hazel Hill, we're not even sure we'll be able to open it during the summer times, because right now the school buildings are closed, and the fitness center in Hazel Hills in the school in Hazel Hill. So we have to, that's yet to be determined on that particular fitness center. So yeah, recreation has the most really potential for interactions, and then you take the highest number of precautions there to protect everybody for sure.
Right. And they did a survey as well, or maybe that's still in progress, a survey to see how residents could be assisted through recreation?
Yeah, that's something we're doing right now. And that goes for summer programming. There's no traditional summer programs being offered for kids this summer. So, do we provide a program online? Do we provide something we send to people's homes? Are we able to do, once we get through June, in July and August, are we allowed, will we have small events with, up to 10 children or kids involved, or up to 8, depending on where you're having it and what the numbers are. So we're kind of working through that now as we speak, and it's kind of a work in progress. And I think we have to give kudos to the feds and to the province for the work they've done on COVID, because they've been as responsive as they can be. But in some of these areas, we're still trying to work through and see how, for a municipality, how that shakes down. Yeah.
Right. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about, Barry, was when we spoke on this topic of the pandemic generally in April, you mentioned then that you didn't think the changes and the state of emergency was really going to have a big financial impact on the municipality. Has that changed at all in the past weeks? Do you expect a financial hit?
Helen, we're not a municipality that has a large number of service fees. So that's not a major impact for us. The one thing, as you've seen, with our no interest policy on 2020, 2021 taxes. So fiscal year started April 1 of this year, runs to April 1 of next year. We have 0 interest. So there is an element of revenue we'll lose there. I think in the broader scheme of things that there won't be a major hit for us as a rural municipality. Yes, we're going to have some effect, but I don't think it's devastating. And the other thing, and I don't want to, one of the things that Prime Minister Trudeau said early on, and I think it applies perfectly to Guysborough, And I give kudos to our councils and our staff that worked long before me, going back to when the Sable Offshore Energy Project came here. And, you know, we were fortunate to have more money in the coffers than we did at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't go out and, you know, just spend that money. They could have built lots of things. They could have did lots of things. They didn't do that. And, you know, Trudeau said that, you know, you tuck away dollars for a rainy day. And he said, well, it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we're at, that, you know, our councils of the past and our current council have been so good shepherding the revenues in good times. It's a little bit tougher now. We have those revenues gone from commercial side of things in the offshore gas industry. You know, our revenues will be down this year. Our cash flow will be reduced a little bit because people will be delaying when they can pay taxes, you know, the people that can't afford to pay them. So yes, so there are effects, but again, I think if there's any municipality that's positioned to handle it, we're probably in the top 10% of any municipality that can handle what we're going through right now.
Terrific. Well, thanks very much, Barry, for taking some time. I know you're doing some more training and orientation with the changes today with staff, and we'll connect back with you over the summer and see how things with some of these new these changes are unfolding.
Yeah, great, Helen, and thank you for doing what you guys are doing, because the Journal has been a constant in the community for decades now. And you know, when people are down in times like this, you know, that Journal coming every week, that's an important connection for everybody across our municipality and Toronto County. So good on you guys for keeping the same number of pages going every week, week in and week out.
Thanks. Well, we have a hardworking team behind that, and we'll give you all some credit with that. Thanks so much, Barry. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Bye.
Bye-bye.